I grew up in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. Really the ghetto part of town, and we can choose our friends, we can choose a lot of things, but your environment that you're born into, you can't necessarily choose those things. Ultimately, we're all given a deck of cards, and it's what we do with those that determines where we go. I started out life in an area that most people are afraid to show up in. And to me, that was still just home. At about the age of 14, I left home and continued to go to high school. But I left home to go see, is there a different life out there, or is this what life is? I come from a family that was heavily ridden with drugs and crime and some prostitution and just whatever else that you wouldn't want people to be necessarily exposed to, that you want to have a relationship with. There were several times that I've been pulled over, riding in cars as kids and whatever, and they yank you out and throw you on the ground and ask you where the stuff's at in the car and whatever else. And then when they would come to our home and they're there looking for my dad or one of my brothers or sister, and they'd raid the home and get your head stepped on, and they have to come in and take control of a scene that they know nothing of. I was fortunate that I started thinking that these people that come in and do that to us, because I thought they're doing that to us, are living a different life. But I didn't know what that life was, because the only thing I knew was the life I grew up in. The people across the street do the same thing, people next door do the same thing. It's the environment that you're in. And but I started paying attention to those things, and I paid attention to other things that would take place, and said these people live a different life. I was fortunate to leave home and find out that there was a different life, and to bridge that gap, I dug in dumpsters every single day. I had a route that I went on. I would get cardboard out, aluminum cans, glass bottles, anything that I could turn into recyclable material that I could turn into a little bit of cash. That's how I lived. I lived that way for several years and continued to go through high school, and then went through the vocational elements of automotive. And then at a job fair, met someone there that was running a car dealership, or was a service director at a car dealership, and I asked him for a job, and he told me to come by and see him, and went by and seen him. And he says, "What do you want to do?" And I didn't know. He says, "Well, we need technicians." And I said, "Well, I don't mind being a technician. Don't necessarily know I know everything that I need to know about that, but I can learn." As time went on through the interview process, he asked me if I had tools, and I lied to him and told him that I did, but I didn't. But what I knew inside, I wasn't, and to myself I wasn't lying. What I knew inside is I had a way to get tools. The way to get tools was to go out and do what I do, dig in dumpsters and do whatever. And I'd go to Sears and get some tools. He didn't ask me how many I had, he just asked me if I had any. That was leading into 4th of July weekend of 1992. And that day, the night of and the day of, the night before and the day of, I picked up about $420 worth of recyclables. And I thought, this is decent. And went to Sears and spent every bit of it, about $420 worth of tools. And I said, well, I'm not lying anymore. I got tools. That weekend, I was proud. I bought $400-something worth of tools. I'm showing off my stuff that's all shiny, new chrome stuff from Sears. I swing by my family's house. They quickly put me in my place and told me that you're not one of those people. You've just wasted your money. You need to take that stuff back to Sears and get your money back. You'll never make it out there in the real world. We're not cut from that cloth. But then I went to that dealership on Monday morning the next day, and I went in and asked for the guy's assistant, and he came out and greeted me, and he looks at me and says, there's no place for you here. And I struggled with that but wasn't willing to accept it. And I kept trying to convince him that, hey, you don't have to give me a job. Conrad already has. This is who I'm supposed to work for. Just tell me where to go. And I could hear it today in my head as if it was being said to me right now. And he says, son, there ain't no place for you here. And so when I accepted that, I go out to my car and I'm leaving, and I'm sitting at the traffic light waiting to turn left. And to turn left, I could go back to Sears and I could take that stuff back. I could go back home, tell my family they was right. Everything that I knew was to the left. Nothing that I knew was to the right. I'm sitting there at that light waiting for it to turn green, and I'm processing all that. Do I go back and I tell my family that they was right? That's not how I'm wired. It ain't gonna hurt to try something different. And so I turned right. And I said, well, we'll see where this road goes. So when I turned into that second dealership and went in to see if they'd give me an opportunity, I met a guy by the name of Charlie Waters. And I don't know what Charlie thought of me at the beginning, but it didn't really matter. Charlie gave me the opportunity to become something that I wasn't. And at the time, he was just hiring someone. But for me, it was everything in the world. And it took some time for him to realize that as I brought it back to him full circle later on in life. But in that moment, it was everything I needed.
I think my dad invests so much in other people because he's been able to get where he is because someone invested in him. And to give that opportunity to people that deserve it or work towards it is amazing. They're grateful for those opportunities. And so I think that's why he gives those opportunities out, because there was someone along the way that gave him that opportunity, so he wants to pay it back tenfold.
I started working with Ed Roberts at another dealership in Jacksonville back in 2009. 2 weeks after I started working there, he became the service director of that dealership, and he pushed me to write service. I was just answering the phones and making appointments. One of my strengths is like talking to people and making connections, which is kind of one of his strengths as well. But unlocking that for me, because I just was always like, yeah, I'm funny and people like me, and like that's not a skill, but it really is. And unlocking that for me kind of changed my life in every sense of the word. And he did that for me, and now I try to do that for others.
Certainly where I came from has allowed me to see people in a different light. And a lot of times, most people look at someone from the surface and make a determination on who they are. And I talk a lot about listening to what's not being said and connecting with someone at a different level and learn what their strengths are.
I feel like Ed's why is his family, and his purpose in life is to bring others up. He feels that way about all the employees or all the people that he meets. He wants to give everybody a shot.
My dad, he had a pretty rough background, but I think it made him a better father because he was able to show an example of what you can be and what you don't want to be. And so it gives you a lot to strive for, more than like having those examples from either like right, wrong, and everything in between. So I think that's what made him a better father in that sense.
Coming from a family that was not very loving, at least from a showing standpoint, was not very loving. Seeing the elements of how we ended up there as a family, that in the places that we did, and how it's the things that it's caused my family to go through. As I evolved over time and of stepping out of that situation and then look back into it, I said, you know, if I ever have kids, I have to be 100% different than the environment that I came up in.
Ed is the same person at work, at events, as he is at home. So how he talks to people at work, he's the same way he talks to me. He doesn't change for anything. He's just who he is through and through.
Leading people is a very serious but meaningful opportunity that we have in front of us. The decisions that we make as we guide people down certain paths changes the entire trajectory of their lives and the lives of their families.
Well, Ed has impacted my life in a unique way because Ed's done it on both the professional and the personal side. And there's not a lot of that. Ed is, of course, my boss, and I've worked for him for some time, but he's also my friend and just genuinely one of the best people I've ever known. I'm better for having known Ed Roberts, let's put it that way.
He pulled me into the office and said, I'm not really sure if you have the drive to succeed in the business, which at the time I was a little upset about because I felt like, I was pushing hard for myself. And it took me years to realize, but he knew me better than I knew myself at the time and knew exactly what I needed to hear to succeed. And I went on to set all of the service records for Bozard Ford.
Because if you got a problem, the old saying is just see Ed. He'll take care of it. And you need something, see Ed, and he'll take care of it. But he is just a nice person, always happy. I've been here 14 years, and I've never seen him mad.
The automotive industry is a zero-down business. You don't have to have an education. You have to bring the right attitude and effort. And someone that's looking for a chance to make something of themselves can show up here in the automotive industry, whether it's at a dealership here in Florida or a dealership in California or somewhere in between, and bring effort every single day and the willingness to learn. And the opportunities are endless.
So I think that makes me the most proud that he, no matter what comes his way or what level he's at, he just always is determined to help people see their worth. I think that his ability to reach all these different milestones throughout his journey, but still, no matter what, turn back and help bring people up with him.
The ability to put himself into other people's shoes, understand perspective, his empathy towards others really shapes how he is a leader. I know for me personally, he has shown me and said repeatedly the ability to be calm under pressure is a superpower. That's something I've adapted in my own leadership style too.
So I know so many people see my dad as a leader, and how I see him is honestly a role model to me. He's kind of set a standard of like who I want to be, the way I want to show myself for a lot of things.
I have multiple missions in life. One of my missions is to be the best father I can be. Another mission of mine is to change the perception of the automotive industry. There's a lot of good people in this industry. My mission is to allow this industry to shine in a brighter light. At some point, I'm going to, and it's inevitable, we all come to an end in our career or end in our life, and that's just inevitable. And hopefully when there's a celebration of my life, that people in that room are talking about the impact that I was able to make on their lives and the impression that I left. And it doesn't matter about the money that was earned. It doesn't matter about any of those things. It matters about how many people's lives that I touch. And hopefully that's the conversation there.